U.S. President Donald Trump's attorney and former New York Mayor Rudy Giuliani claimed North Korean leader Kim Jong-un begged for the reinstatement of a summit between the U.S. and North Korea. Trump and Kim will meet at a luxury resort on Sentosa Island for nuclear talks next week in Singapore. Trump and Kim's highly anticipated meeting is scheduled for 9 a.m. local time on the 12th of June after a flurry of on-again, off-again action. The U.S. president hopes to secure a deal with the North Korean regime to abandon its nuclear program. Meanwhile, Giuliani also drew comparison with Palestinian authorities, saying Palestinians have to be seeking peace. Giuliani comments came during a business conference in Israel.
Now, Trump has been able to do that and decouple North Korea from it. Meaning everyone said, well, if you get tough on China on trade, China's not going to help you with North Korea. Well, somehow, North Korea, after he canceled the summit because they insulted the vice president, they insulted his national security advisor, and they also said they were going to go to nuclear war against us. They were going to defeat us in a nuclear war. We said, well, we're not going to have a summit under those circumstances. Well, Kim Jong-un got back on his hands and knees and begged for it, which is exactly the position you want to put him in. That's what has to happen with the Palestinian Authority. They have to be seeking peace. You got to change the dynamic and put the pressure on them.
Now, Trump and Kim are set to meet in just 5 days from now, and preparations are in full swing in Singapore for the historic summit between the U.S. president and the North Korean leader. Now, Singapore and North Korea have had diplomatic relations since 1975. What's more, the Southeast Asian nation is also a welcome ground for the United States. It's a large trading partner and the second largest Asian investor in the U.S. Singapore also has experience hosting such high-profile meetings. In 2015, it was the site of another unprecedented summit between two leaders burdened with a legacy of bad blood, Chinese President Xi Jinping and rival Taiwan's then-President Ma Ying-jeou. The White House has announced that Trump and Kim will meet for next week's nuclear talks at the Capella Hotel, a luxury resort on Sentosa Island. Now, Sentosa Island is known for its high-end beach hotels, golf courses and amusement parks. Analysts say that the selection of Sentosa for the historic summit makes perfect sense.
Sentosa is an island off the coast of Singapore. It has very limited points of entry, and it's going to be quite isolated away from, the rest of Singapore. Generally, you'll have to just deal with tourists. And it's good for security, and it's good for really having a private kind of event. And I think that's something that North Korea and the United States are really shooting for. There will be, the historic photo opportunities and things like that. But ultimately, when it comes down to it, they want this summit to be really about, getting down to the brass tacks and really hammering out and working through kind of the more difficult, kind of things that, plague the relationship. And so choosing Sentosa, it makes perfect sense.
And WION's very own Surya Gangadharan joins me now for more in the story. Surya, Trump describes it as a process. I mean, you think the world can expect some outcome from the 12th June summit between Trump and Kim?
Well, I think if some of the reports that we have read do suggest that Trump has backed away from his earlier insistence that the North denuclearize immediately, give up all its nuclear weapons and open its facilities to international inspections. I think he's now indicated that it could take time, and he's willing to go that distance. Although some of the rhetoric coming out of Washington by people like Giuliani does suggest that maybe there are some other people in the administration who would rather this summit was never held. So we'll really have to wait and see until June 12th actually happens.
We refer to rhetoric from Washington. Are you referring to John Bolton by any chance? Because there are reports that Bolton will be present at Sentosa when the summit actually takes place, and he's a skeptic when it comes to North Korea.
Well, Bolton, I think, torpedoed the first move towards a summit. And Trump then stepped in and said everything is okay. Then you had the meeting between Kim and President Moon also on the DMZ, and that kind of papered things over. So Bolton's presence at the same summit on June 12th would be interesting to see what kind of reaction we get from the North. Some of the language they use against Bolton is quite strong and suggests they see him as a spoiler in this entire game.
And very quickly, Surya, what do you make of the choice of the location for the summit, Singapore, Sentosa Island and the Capella Hotel?
You know, Singapore, for all the talk of democracy and all, is a police state. I've lived there. Their rules and laws are pervasive. They are quite intrusive. The media is largely censored and quite tame. And you don't find the kind of opposition level politics that you find here in India. The opposition there is pretty tame. They know what to say. You'll find the odd guy going out and saying something in a certain area which is restricted only for that purpose. So in that sense, there are less places that the police have to monitor. So in that sense, this is an ideal location for a summit of this kind.
Indeed. On that note, Surya Gangadharan, thank you so much for joining me with all the information.